Thank you for joining my lecture. Today's theme: it's inevitable in history that Kamala Harris will become the President of the United States. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump. Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris. In 1960, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, who became the President of the United States, was a very unique president. Until then, the presidents of the United States were whites, Anglo-Saxons, and Protestants. That was the mainstream of the United States at that time. On the other hand, John F. Kennedy was white, Irish, and Catholic. The United States was in the middle of the civil rights movement. John F. Kennedy wanted black American votes. His younger brother Robert Kennedy called the judge who convicted the leader of the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King Jr., who had been arrested in a sit-in and had him released the next day. Also, John F. Kennedy himself called Mrs. Martin Luther King Jr. After black student James Meredith was rejected for admission to Mississippi State University, John F. Kennedy mobilized the military to suppress a racist insurrection. Only Alabama Governor George Wallace was different. On June 11, 1963, two black students, James Hood and Vivian Malone, arrived at the gate of Alabama State University, escorted by Deputy Attorney General Nicholas Katzenbach. Attorney General Robert Kennedy tried to persuade Wallace not to intervene by phone, but Wallace refused, and he personally stood at the gate of the university with the National Guard. John F. Kennedy incorporated the National Guard into federal forces and placed them under his command, closed off the area around the university to all but officials, and concentrated federal troops on the outskirts of Birmingham. When Katzenbach read out the presidential proclamation and declared that the commander of the National Guard would be arrested if he interfered with the performance of the federal government's mission, Wallace finally backed down. As a result, no state in the 50 states of the United States excludes black students. In 1963, after John F. Kennedy's assassination, the civil rights law that banned racial discrimination was legislated. In the 1980s, the mayor nomination of former Massachusetts governor and Greek American Michael Dukakis as the Democratic presidential nominee made headlines. In the 1980s, there was even headlines when Geraldine Ferraro, an Italian-American woman, became the Democratic Party's vice presidential nominee. In the 1980s, it even made headlines that Jesse Jackson, a black man, was running for the Democratic presidential nomination. In 1989, Colin Powell became the first black person in U.S. history to head the U.S. military. He then became the first black Secretary of State. In the 2000s, Condoleezza Rice became the first black woman in U.S. history to become Secretary of State. In 2009, Barack Obama became the first black president in U.S. history. This was unthinkable in the 20th century. Hillary Clinton, who lost the presidential election to Republican Donald Trump in the 2016 presidential election, could not break through the tallest and hardest glass ceiling, but someday someone will break through. Hopefully, it will happen sooner than we think right now. America's racial makeup is also changing. The younger generation of Americans is a generation that was taught after the civil rights movement that racism is bad. In addition, in the information society more than ever before, such as the internet, it's easy to know what is right. It's a world where not only racial minorities but also LGBTQ rights are being asserted and recognized. There is also an anti-racism movement that occurs every time white police officers crack down on black people in the United States, and an anti-racism movement against immigration restrictions in the United Kingdom. American society has changed drastically from a few decades ago. In the midst of such trends, Trump has repeatedly made racist and sexist remarks. The resistance of Trump supporting Rust Belt white workers and the evangelical conservative white population seems like a final gasp in the dynamism of history. In such a vein, it's inevitable in history that Kamala Harris will be the President of the United States in 2024. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel to maintain these education activities. I'm looking forward to seeing you again.